Becoming the Tron guy really changed my life. Before, I was just the average computer geek, toiling away anonymously in an office somewhere.
Hey everybody out there on the internet, welcome back to another episode here of us trying random games on this channel. I know it's a fantastic term or name for a series. This is DESYNC, and interesting enough, we actually tried to record this twice so far, and one time it failed, which is fine, but another time the actual audio was desynced, so thought I would bring that up just because. Anyways, DESYNC is a interesting game. It's from Adult Swim Games. As you can kind of see from everything you're looking at, the aesthetic kind of resembles a lot of Tron and kind of 80s ideas of what the future would be or what computers were. And that in itself is very, very cool. Now, DESYNC as a game is a first-person shooter, but not a standard first-person shooter. It's more along the lines of something like a Devil Daggers or something like I Want to Be the Guy. So it's intentionally difficult. It's a brutal first-person shooter that you have to traverse a number of areas, clear out the enemies, move on to the next one, on and on and on. Once you do that, your score gets logged into the high scoreboards and all that good stuff. Now, for the most part, DESYNC is a fantastic game, and it's one of the most engaging and thrilling first-person shooters that I've had in a long time because of the challenge put into it. You're going to die a lot, but when you do beat a stage, you are going to be very excited and very happy with yourself for it. So the game is broken up into these zones. And you can kind of see this giant ball of triangles, and each triangle is essentially a level that you can play. It's a stage, and I don't know if every single one of them or if it's just along this middle line, but as you can kind of see, this is the necropolis, and they each have an overall list of people for global rankings, for rivals, for local. It lets you know your rank, what you used, your weapon, how much damage you've done, and then kind of the closest person in your bracket, which is very cool. And each one of these levels progressively gets harder. New enemies, more enemies to clear out, all that good stuff. And that part of the game is a lot of fun, and even at its hardest, doesn't feel so unfair. There are some issues that I'll get into. For the most part, it's a great game. Then we get to these boss battles. And these boss battles are where the game kind of almost falls in on itself and implodes. And there are two major reasons for this that I think the community has also called out. I have three and a half issues with the game. And they all really revolve around these boss battles. Now, the boss battles themselves are cool. This guy is cool. Grabs you, tosses you, you're good to go. Issue number one, and you'll see it here in a second, that kind of makes this more difficult than it needs to be, is speed. And the speed for DESYNC feels slightly off. It feels just ever so tweaked on the underside of where you want it to be. Now, you have this dash ability that you can use pretty much all the time. There's a very small cooldown to it, and it works very well. But I have this feeling that should have been the standard movement speed, and a boost should have been put into place on top of that. So that is an issue, especially in these boss fights, because this boss, especially with his jumps, is very, very quick. But, again, not a gigantic issue because a lot of this has to do with timing and a lot. Now, another issue, and one that I have issue with, that I take umbrage with, is the fact that not Devil Daggers, because I was just playing that game, which is also a fantastic game, but DESYNC here doesn't have a How did I die? What the fuck? We'll talk about that in a second, too. But the DESYNC doesn't have a difficulty slider of any kind, which kind of blows my mind a little bit. There is no hard, there is no medium, there is no easy. There just is. And this doesn't make a lot of sense. And If you're a hardcore player, you're going to want the most challenge possible. And DESYNC does offer that in spades. But you might be something like a Devil Daggers expert. You might be someone that lives off these hard, brutal games. And you might be able to get through this game without much of a problem. You might be watching this gameplay footage right here of me doing it, and you may be calling out all the stuff that you see I'm doing wrong. And you're probably correct. But there's no option for you to pump up the speed or pump up the difficulty if you want something more challenging. Now, if you're someone like me who's mid-range, or maybe you're a casual person that saw this game aesthetically and wanted more of it, well, you can't set the game down to an easy or a medium mode and just enjoy the experience and the world, and you can't kind of take that into play. Now, someone like me, I'm going to get my ass kicked. It's hard to talk and play at the same time. What I like to do is I'll put it on. I can't ever avoid those triple shots. I want to put it on medium, or I'll put it on easy. It's a very difficult, intentionally difficult game to essentially practice, and we'll go through the experience and get better. And then as I get better, I up the difficulty, because so much of these games isn't about getting to the end, but it's about your high score and such. And growing up with old hard games, that made a lot of sense. Start off easy, work your way up, get that high score. So that should have been implemented, and I don't know why that wasn't. Now, thirdly, and one of my biggest issues with the game is the hit detection is terrible. But not all the time. It's terrible with regards to bosses like this and melee weapons. As you can see right there, if you're going to have melee weapons in your first-person shooter, there have to be clear and defined hitboxes that the player can understand and clearly see in some fashion. Now, this boss right here is actually a perfect example of why that doesn't actually work. He has two weapons. He has an axe, and he has a longsword. Now, the axe is medium range. You kind of have an idea of where it can go because of the way it's shaped. That sword is impossible to gauge distance-wise, because whenever you are around this enemy in a different position, it looks like... God damn it, I'm dead again. It looks like it's a different length. And when he swipes at you, it's very difficult to tell where his sword ends. Like right there, like how far away do I need to be from that sword? And it's very difficult to get that down. Now, not so big an issue in the regular game. Enemies are smaller, their weapons are more defined, but this boss right here is a very clear example of FOV and the issues that you're going to have with a game like this. And this is where the unfair nature comes to it, because it does feel like it wasn't your mistake that killed you, it was the lack of understanding of how the game processes a certain information, and especially with regards to hitboxes. And so this is one reason I've never been able to beat this boss. Pattern recognition, of course, is vital. And once his second form comes into play, see that I thought I was far enough away from that. But memorizing patterns, of course, is essential. And I just don't know some of them yet. Where did he hit me? When did he hit me? How far away was he? It's very difficult to practice something when you don't know exactly what's killing you or how. Now, this kind of ties into my next complaint with the game, and something that other players have also complained about. Is that DESYNC, I keep wanting to say Devil Daggers, a better game in my opinion, that does the same kind of thing, doesn't explain anything. The game simply begins. Now, Devil Daggers does the same thing, it just throws you in. But that game is so fundamentally basic. You point, you shoot, and you move. And that's it. You get cooler weapons, you go on and on. DESYNC has a lot of other mechanics in play. It has upgrade system, it has weapon system, it has shards in play. It has sync moves. It has sidearms. It has abilities. There's a lot. It is a full-featured game, more so than some traditional first-person shooters. But the game tells you nothing about these. It doesn't tell you what works best how. It doesn't tell you why to upgrade. It doesn't tell you what the shards do. It doesn't tell you what the sync means or what the decode means. Everything is completely left up to the player. Now, understand some stuff finding out is cool, but not telling anything to the player, it becomes an exercise in frustration. Now, old games did the same thing, but old games had instruction manuals and the like to help them and let the player read. This one, your odds are, if you're not MLG Pro, you're going to have to be digging through the Steam forums. And that should always be a last resort. A game should explain itself to you in a nice and, straightforward manner. Now, you can take a game, say, like a Mega Man or something, Mega Man X or the older Mega Man. No tutorial in that game. But as you play, it slowly explains what you can and can't do and how to deal with various situations. DESYNC does nothing. The tutorial that it throws you into at first is extremely lackluster, to the point where it's laughable how little it tells you. And so, when you get to stage 4 here, the first boss, you don't feel ready for the boss. And a boss, at least in my opinion, a first boss in a game should be easy enough where the basic fundamentals of the game that you've learned should be in play. And this is kind of where you kind of break yourself in, get your chops, and adjust to the basics of the game. You get to Devil Daggers right now, and now you have something that is on par with, look at that, on par with some of the hardest FPS games and levels, and you're only at the beginning. And again, I went on to the Steam forums, got some advice on gameplay and how upgrades and stuff work. Fantastic community, some great people. But again, I shouldn't have to do that. The game should tell you these things. I played the first level, everything was fine, I was shooting, I was great. I dropped down to the hub world, and these panels came up about weapons and shards and about upgrade systems, and you're just kind of left to fend for yourself. And you can see me just getting my ass kicked here, and you might, oh, come on, just kill me now. You might be seeing my mistakes, and that's fine. But games should be about including as many people as possible, especially if you're an indie developer and you're smaller. Have that established track record that's just going to sell games by name alone, especially for a new IP, something like this. And not having at least, the very least, a difficulty slider excludes so much of an audience, and you're going to piss off a chunk of players because the game looks great and they want that aesthetic, and then they realize, I can't play this game because I don't have the hours to invest in it. And even me, who part of my job is to play video games, I don't have the time to invest to become proficient in this. I barely have time to play the games that I really want. So if you spend all your money on a game like this, yeah, you might get pissed off, and that might leave a sour taste in your mouth for future games. Now, one issue that I have that a lot of people aren't having, but I fear might, and that I haven't talked a lot, is that this game, after about 20 or so minutes, coming up here in a little bit before this ends, is that it gives me a bloody headache. And that does have to do with the visual aesthetic of the game. Not so much the neon worlds and that sort of thing, but oh fuck, you'll see it. The center of the screen and whatever you're attacking is in focus. But the farther away you get to the side, the more distorted the world gets. And and this is intentional. This is to keep that 80s vibe and almost like this old school computer monitor vibe. But that really hurts my eyes. Because my eyes are focused on the action in the center, which is pretty crisp and clear, and then right around the edges, everything is out of focus, so my eyes want to kind of make these adjustments on the fly, and it can't. And it ends up giving me a headache. Could just be me. But I venture to guess that there's a couple other people that, can kind of see that as well. And you can probably see that now if I'm recording this in 1080p and it outputs correctly. But that said, all that negative stuff said, and I do believe those. Shit, come on. Not once has this stopped being fun. This could be my 25th, 30th time fighting this stupid boss, and yes, it is frustrating. God, I can't block that. But it is absolutely fun. I don't know what hit me that last time. Did you see something? It seemed like the FOV was out of range, and it passed me, but it actually hit me again, the problem. I will continue to play this. I do want to beat this. I do like it. But I know most people won't have the time to invest in something like this. And I think that is a detriment to the game itself, because these self-imposed limitations to its own audience are a problem. A difficulty slider is ridiculous to not have in a modern game, especially one that's intentionally this hard. To be able to turn it down to just have fun and not put yourself on the global leaderboards should be in a patch. The speed adjustments, some people might like it, some people might not. That you could go either way. The FOV and the field, again, could be something hard-coded in the game. It is not the same as other first-person shooters, so the distance of things is very weird, so that's going to take a lot of adjustment for most people. One thing they can patch is a tutorial system that matters, that is worth a damn. The game currently, as it is, has no story that I'm aware of, which sucks. You have this Tron-inspired world that you want to play in, and Tron is a cool game, or a cool movie, so you want to learn more about it. This game tells you nothing. Those tutorial levels could easily explain the situation of why you're in this world, why you're fighting these AIs, why you're fighting anything, what's going on. And that would be a very simple implementation. Each tutorial teaches you something about the move, teaches you how to sync this, teaches you how to use your weapons, teaches you why to upgrade, goes through the list and list and list. And again, this doesn't affect anyone negatively. If you're a pro, if you're MLG, skip them. Go straight to the action. If you're a brand new beginner who just thinks the game is pretty and looks cool, you can spend some time in those tutorials and some practice stuff. If you're in the middle like me, you can do a little of both. You can get into the action hardcore until you get stumped and stuck on something, and then you can go back and see if there's a tutorial on kind of how to adjust to it. You shouldn't have to be forced to go into the Steam forums to learn the basics of your game. And I think that's one of the biggest detriments to DESYNC. Will I be doing a review on it? As of this point right now, no. Because I don't think that's fair. I need to be able to finish the game. And if in the next few days, if that does happen, and I do get 90% of the game completed, then yeah, I can do a review. I can feel comfortable with it. But I figured I need to do a video on it because they were so nice to send this game over. And this is a game that I will continue to play on and off for a long time. So stay tuned, the next week or two if I do finish it for review. But I thought people would be interested to see what they're getting into. Now, this is just the boss encounter. So many of these issues aren't that big of an issue or at all in the base game where you're running from arena to arena, clearing out rooms of various enemies. That, I died a few times on each, but I had a great time with them. The big issues that I talk about really come into play when you deal with bosses. Their size and their scale. So that's something you guys should think about when you go out and think about picking up DESYNC. I want to thank you for checking this little gameplay, demo, demonstration, explanation, whatever you want to call it. We appreciate you sticking with us this long. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you thought I was on point, if you thought I'm a crazy person, if you think I am some scrub lord, let me know in the comments below, as long as we can keep things civil, and let me know your position, what you think of the game. I do like this game. but I would be doing a disservice to not state the issues that I have with it. So check this one out on Steam. I think this one would benefit a lot if it had a demo of maybe, you know, the first 2 levels and a mini boss encounter or something, just to get people into the game. I really do miss the days of demos when they actually, you know, demonstrated the game. But thanks for checking us out, and we will catch you for another video probably this Friday. If you want to catch us on Twitch, we're over there Monday, Wednesday, and Friday nights to join us and join in some fun. And until next time, we'll catch you guys later. Bye-bye.